Time now for the Educated Retirement Show with your host, Jay Kaplan. Jay discusses reverse mortgages and can answer your questions at 951-922-3532. Call lines are open at 951-922-3532. And now, here's Jay.
Even better than Jay Kaplan, Daryl McCance is filling in today. Jay Kaplan is getting some well-deserved plastic surgery, and we're very optimistic it's going to turn out wonderful. Welcome to ABC Radio, KMET 1490 on a beautiful Friday. We have not only myself, Daryl McCance, filling in for the famous Jay Kaplan of the Educated Retirement, but we have Darren Baker, attorney at law, with us. Darren, are you there?
I'm here. I'm ready.
Oh, fantastic. So we're going to be breaking the show into three parts. Out of respect for Jay, we'll start by having a little dialogue on his favorite loan, which is the federally insured reverse mortgage for seniors. And I know you have a huge background as an attorney specializing in trust work. And so I'm going to throw it over to you. Just a couple thoughts on how the FHA reverse mortgage, how have you seen it as it relates to the trust business that you've worked on? Kind of a general thought. Anything hit you right off the bat?
Well, what's hit me off the bat is how often that sort of a loan has helped my own clients, my own trust clients. And that is because you find people who purchased their house in 1972 for $21,000, and in 2010 it's worth $500,000. They've paid it off, and they're looking at a future where all they have to live on is a small pension and some Social Security. And by getting the reverse mortgage, they've been able to fix up the house, take a trip, go see the grandkids, buy a new car, whatever it might be. And it's really given them a much better retirement than they were looking at originally.
Got it. So are you finding that many of your clients are taking advantage of the program because of specific needs or more quality of life?
It's really split, because a lot of times the reverse mortgage will be used when they need in-home care. That's usually fairly expensive and hard for people to pay for out of their own pocket. But with the reverse mortgage, they can hire whatever level of care one of the spouses may need, and it really takes the pressure off the family. As far as other reasons, I've had people, pay for a car in cash, something they've never done before, and it was because they had the reverse mortgage. Or take that, 60-day cruise that they've always wanted to take but couldn't afford to take it. So I think usually there's some specific need. It's not always apparent what that is, but people see it as another way to fund the retirement they want versus maybe the retirement that they were getting stuck with.
Yeah, I think you're right on the point. With the stock market going up, the stock market going down, it's nice if people have another option to secure funds as opposed to savings or impacting their adult children. When you've spoken to the children of the seniors that have taken advantage of the reverse mortgage program, what's been the feedback that you've seen from the adult children?
Well, at first they're not happy, because what they see is that this house that they were going to inherit free and clear is now going to have a loan on it. And, my response to that is simply to say, well, look, if you don't want your mom or your dad or your parents together to have to do this to enjoy their lives, you need to come up with a way to take care of it for them. And generally they can't, and that's why they slowly but surely get to the point where they're okay with the reverse mortgage. They see how much happier their parents are, and they understand that, it's not something that they could have handled on their own, but because of this product, mom and dad are able to enjoy their golden years.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, because obviously a lot of the senior homeowners, consider selling the house or doing the reverse mortgage, and I think if they would have done it 5 years ago, if they would have sold the house and not had the opportunity to see that appreciation. So I think a lot of the kids are surprised to find that over time the house has gone up significantly, and the mortgage could be small and not as significant. So that's neat that the kids are coming to that realization. Now, your area of specialty is trust law. Before I go any further, and we'll repeat it, but what is the best way for individuals? This broadcast is a strong signal in Southern California. If you could say the best ways to get a hold of you, where your office is at, so that any questions can be answered that may arise, please.
Well, my office is located in Orange, California, just down the street from Anaheim Stadium. It's a one-person practice. My wife works with me also. Her name is Blanca, and I can tell you that most people like talking to her way better than they like talking to me.
I can't imagine.
She's easier on the eyes too. But if people want to get a hold of me, my number is 714-634-4237, and I do something a little bit different. I have a base fee that I even print on my business cards, and then people come see me, and they're kind of amazed at the service we offer for the fees that we charge, and basically I live on referrals because of that. So if anybody's interested, they should certainly call. I tell people who ask that the reason to have a trust is to avoid probate, and everybody with a house goes to probate.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how people believe that if they have a will, that will avoid probate. And my understanding is that that's not true. Is that correct?
That is correct. In fact, a will has to be probated. So if you have a will and your estate is worth more than $150,000, which pretty much every house in California is worth more than that, and that's value, not equity, then they're going to go probate. And I will tell you that probate has a lot of hidden problems, one of which is that if you go into probate on a house that has a loan against it, there's a very good chance that the house is going to get foreclosed before you can get a chance to sell it in the probate. So you've been very instrumental in telling your clients, hey, get a trust, so that way when mom and dad are deceased, the house is not in probate and the trustee can deal with the loan, and he's not under the pressure of getting through a court proceeding to do that. In addition, probate's very expensive. So if you have a $500,000 house, which isn't unusual in California, the probate fees are going to be about, $15,000 or so to the attorney. That's me. And then you're going to have a couple thousand in court costs. The other problem with probate is it's a court proceeding, and right now courts are not doing anything except what they consider to be the most important legal matters, such as criminal matters. So probates are taking a lot longer to finish because the court is not giving them a high priority, and it's not unusual to see a probate take 2 years in Southern California.
Isn't that amazing? Or they can spend there's companies out there that are advertising when there's no attorney involved, which concerns me a great deal, and they're charging more than you're charging. So to get a trust is very inexpensive through Darren's office, and then it's done correctly. Now, how many trusts would you estimate you've done over the years?
Probably 8,000 or 9,000.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
I am pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's a lot. And now, are most of your clients California residents?
Yes, they all are. In order for me to do a trust for someone, they have to either be living in California or have assets in California.
Got it. So, when it comes to reverse mortgages and trusts, are there any other myths that you encounter where people are there's just some general confusion, or you notice that there's some bad information out there that you have to kind of clarify for the homeowner and or their adult children when it comes to the topic of these federally insured reverse mortgages?
Well, like most things that are looked upon as new and different, even though reverse mortgages have been around a long time, people get a lot of bad information. And when they say, oh, I've heard bad things about that, the first thing that comes out of someone's mouth when I ask them what that was is, oh, the bank will take your house. Well, I tell people, think of what happens when you get a loan on your house. If something happens to you and you pass away, your kids have to either refinance the loan and keep the house, pay the loan off out of their pocket and keep the house, or sell the house and pay the loan off. Well, a reverse mortgage has the exact same circumstances attached to it. No one's taking the house. It's your house. Nobody's entitled to it. It's just like any other loan. The difference is that you have more options on how to pay it or not make a payment if you don't want to. And once I tell people that, they start getting this look in their eye like, hey, wait a minute, maybe this isn't too bad. And when I tell clients about things that they're not sure of, I say, look, call somebody who does this and ask them about it. And they're always surprised that it's just like what I told them. It's just a loan. The difference is you don't have to make a payment if you don't want to. You can make a payment if you want to, but you don't have to. And
Yep.
by saying that and them understanding that, they're realizing that, their next door neighbor, Bob, is not the legal expert that they thought. Maybe they'll actually start talking to professionals about this.
Yep. Well, that's one of the things that drives Jay Kaplan crazy. Jay Kaplan calls this federally insured reverse mortgage the best loan ever. And what's interesting is now, people become very familiar with the term forbearance, where if they have the traditional mortgage where they have to make a monthly payment every month, they get very excited if they can somehow skip a payment or two. And what's interesting on this program is that for seniors only that qualify, their payments are in forbearance for a lifetime. Now, they can send payments in if they want. They can pay the loan down to a zero balance if they want, but they're never required to make that monthly payment. The only payment they have to make is when they sell the house or decide to convert the property to a rental property or some other change the status of the home. As long as they're living in it and enjoying it, they're good. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening to ABC Radio KMET. We'll be right back with Darren Baker, attorney at law. And thanks for listening. And Jay Kaplan is doing well.
If you guys would like to call into the show, you can call in 951-922-3532. That's 951-922-3532. And now back to Daryl.
Welcome back. This is Daryl McCance, broker, filling in for the world famous Jay Kaplan, who I said earlier was out for some well-needed plastic surgery. That's actually not true, but he's listening right now, so I will pay the price later for that line of comedy. But we miss him. He's doing great, and he's home resting, and with any luck, we'll have him back on air next Friday. I'm on now, ABC Radio, 1490 KMET with Darren Baker, attorney at law, and one of the proud affiliates of the station is Angels, and Darren's office is near the Angel Stadium. And I personally have referred friends, family, all those individuals that I care about. I've referred them over to Darren, and they always come back raving fans. They are shocked at what they've been charged in a positive way, which is exactly the opposite of what the normal reaction to a legal bill is. So Darren somehow has managed to keep the customers extremely pleased. And we've talked over the years that because he's got so many referrals and the process is very streamlined, what people pay today is literally probably a third of what they paid just not that many years ago. Darren, you're online. Can you hear me clearly, Darren?
I certainly can.
Okay, do me a favor before we get tied into some more conversation. Would you repeat the best way to contact you, your office location, and then we'll go from there.
Certainly. My telephone number is 714-634-4237. I have a website that's www.bakertrust.com, which has a lot of information on the services I provide and some information about the documents that we provide. And my way of working is different than most people. I start with a flat fee. Most trusts are charged $575. So that's the average price.
Darren, there's a little feedback. Are you try it again? The phone number and then start going into the fees. There's just a little feedback.
Okay.
Oh, that's a lot better. There we go.
Okay. My telephone number is 714-634-4237. My website is www.bakertrust.com. And when you go to the website, the first thing you're going to see is my fee. And that is the fee that most people pay. And that fee is $575, which includes all the documents, 2 appointments with me. And we're certainly happy to answer questions for you when the need arises.
So you complete a complete trust for the client for $575, and you make yourself available. Is it in person? Is it by telephone?
It's usually by telephone because, frankly, nobody wants to drive to see me. But
if they do, they're more than welcome, huh?
Yes. As long as they have an appointment. I only see people by appointments. And the $575 covers most people. Now, if someone has more real estate than just their residence, I do have extra fees for preparing the extra deed. We will disclose they come in to meet with me. So, but $575 is the great majority of people. That's their fee.
Okay, great. Okay, now your phone line is coming in clear. Whatever you're doing, keep doing that. And
okay.
So let's go back. You mentioned the big myth on the federally insured reverse mortgage that the United States HUD came up with for many years ago to provide another option for seniors, and it's administered obviously through the Federal Housing Administration. And again, Jay Kaplan refers to it as the best loan ever. And I know that you've shared earlier that it's absolutely solved many problems for your clients. And now a lot of banks will create a lot of hoops for people to jump through when they try to get financing on their homes if they have a trust. Have you found that to be the case, or has it been a nice, seamless process for the most part?
Well, it just depends on the bank. Most banks understand trusts. Basically, the trust and the client are the same, so banks treat them that way. A lot of times, however, if you get in touch with a mortgage broker who doesn't really know that much about trusts, or he has to follow, a hard guideline set by the bank, they're going to want you to take the property out of the trust to get the loan, and then hopefully they'll put it back in the trust. If they don't, then my clients call me and I do a deed to put it back in the trust. But for the most part, trusts are not new. I started doing seminars about trusts in the late 80s when they were kind of a new thing, and nowadays everybody pretty much knows about them. They know they should do them, but people typically don't do the things they should do, so there's still a lot of clients for me to serve out there.
Well, you just gave the number one reason why anybody that's interested in a reverse mortgage should call Jay, because that's his specialty, and I know he has shared that the lenders he works with have been really good about working with individuals, husband and wives, singles, whomever, that have their properties in a trust. And then if there is something that needs to be done to the trust to make sure that it satisfies whatever needs to be done, that's where you come in. And if there is an additional documentation or correction that needs to be done, that's right up your alley, correct?
Yes, I've been doing trust work in association with reverse mortgages for quite a long time. I like that work. I like helping people. I'm helping the people I want to help the most, which are seniors, although I'm pretty much one of them now. I just turned 61 last month, so I guess I'm not a young lawyer anymore. I'm kind of in the middle. But yeah, I have a lot of experience doing that. I've worked with all the major banks. To this day, I still do work with banks regarding reverse mortgages when they need something. I've been able to get them to get a loan through on a trust that maybe had some problems, and I fixed the problems. So I'm a good resource for anybody out there that might be having a problem with a reverse mortgage and a trust. They can certainly contact me, and I can help.
Okay, fantastic. I know that you've helped my clients, and they have been extremely grateful. What should have been and what would have normally been a major nightmare, you've been able to get resolved in a matter of minutes, and we move straight ahead. And that's why I was excited about you being on today and sharing, your contact information and your background. Now, when it comes to the putting the trust together, or if somebody has a trust, I guess two different questions. If, as you mentioned earlier, if somebody owns property, let's put it this way: everybody should have a trust, with the following exceptions, or how would you best phrase that?
Well, no one would be harmed by having a trust, that is for sure. I have clients who have no assets, but they have young kids, and they get a trust set up so that when they do get assets, they can put them in the trust. If they were to pass away, their life insurance would be in a trust for their young children. I have multi-millionaires who have trusts, and basically they have the same trust that the person with no assets has. It's basically a way to leave the assets to your heirs. The problem is that there are very few people who specialize in trusts. Most of the lawyers who do trusts do it as a sideline. I know this because when I do work for banks, I see a lot of different trusts. I see trusts that are very good. I see trusts where the lawyers would be taken out behind the woodshed and caned because they're so bad.
Oh, that's hilarious. Now, Darren, I think the phone might be a little bit too close, so just, there we go.
Okay.
We'll do a quick sound check on there.
But one of the things is that,
okay, that's perfect.
Okay, good. Trust is all I do. I do probate work because, someone needs to get it done, and it might as well be me. But I prefer to do trust because I know if people follow my directions, everything will work out perfectly for them, and that's an unusual thing in the practice of law. Exactly.
So really, even if someone does not have assets, if they have children, it's a real eye opener when they first meet with you, and you let them know, hey, if something should ever happen to you, when you have a trust, it forces you to ask and answer those tough questions about who will be raising your children. As you mentioned, if there's life insurance involved, it goes into the trust, and that money could be responsibly used to benefit the children as they're pre-adult. And then obviously if they own a piece of real estate, their home specifically, you really don't see instances where having a trust is anything other than a great idea, especially with what's going on in the probate courts. Is that about right?
Yes, but the other thing is I don't just do a trust. I do some other supplemental documents, and those documents are very important too. So, for example, I'll do a durable power of attorney for financial management, so that if someone was to become incapacitated, there'd be someone to pay the bills and do the taxes and take care of the financial matters. I do an advanced healthcare directive and power of attorney, so someone can make medical decisions for them. And if the time comes, then to even remove them from the prolonging treatment that they have in hospitals.
Okay, now, hey, now, Darren, the phone. There we go.
Is it better?
Yeah, that's a little bit better. It kind of got a little muffled there. So
Okay.
So the durable power of attorney is, for medical reasons primarily.
Well, there's two. There's a power of attorney for financial matters and a power of attorney for health care.
Got it. Okay.
And I do those.
Those are things that people don't think about when they're healthy and running around. But when things get complicated, they're glad that they set that up with you in advance.
Well, yeah, because one of the things that happens is if you have a power of attorney, at least the ones that I write up, let's say you become incapacitated. Well, the power of attorney that I write would allow your kids to write a trust on your behalf so that when you pass away, you're not going to probate. And people don't realize that that's a very important tool. I have people I see who are already incapacitated, and the first thing I say to their children are, do they have a power of attorney for financial matters? Because if they do, they can probably write a trust, put the house in the trust, the other assets in the trust, and that way when mom dies, they're not going to probate on the house on top of everything else that they're doing.
Now that's interesting. So for some reason they don't have the trust, at least make sure that they've had you involved in preparing those two basic power of attorneys. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Right.
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 I've not heard that before. That's new information and extremely valuable. Darren, do me a favor. Repeat the office location, the phone number, how people contact you, and then we will dive in deeper.
Terrific. My telephone number is 714-634-4237. I'm on Orangewood in the city of Orange, just east of the 57 freeway in Anaheim Stadium. And I have a website that's www.bakertrust.com. And if they call the telephone number, my lovely assistant Blanca, who is also my wife, will answer any questions that they have, and then set an appointment so that we can meet and I can start their trust.
Okay, give me that phone number.
714-634-4237.
Okay, now that came through beautiful. Wherever you're at, don't move. You're coming through magnificent right now. It was
okay.
Muffled there for a minute. Now the bad news is it was muffled. The good news is you sounded a lot better than Jay Kaplan. In fact, I like to tell Jay that he has a face for radio, and I don't know if he knows what that means, but we have fun with him. It's great to fill in for Jay Kaplan today. My name is Daryl McCance. I'm a broker. I can be reached at 310-400-9209 or 909-227-3847. We're here on ABC Radio, KMET 1490, and the station has a relationship with the Rams, the Angels, the Clippers, and the Lakers. And of course, Darren Baker is excited about that Angels because their stadium is down the street from him. Now, you have clients all over Southern California. How many years have you been practicing, Darren?
I've been practicing since early 1992.
Very good. Yeah, and the reason that I'm so excited about Darren is he is extremely focused on trust work. He's very focused on keeping the cost of putting a trust together extremely cost effective. For my clients, I've received nothing but raving reviews. And he's right. His wife is delightful. Now, Blanca speaks Spanish fluently, correct, Darren?
Yes, she does.
Okay. That's that's worth its weight in gold. And every time I call over there, you're absolutely right. She spoils me, and I'm sure she spoils everybody. But really appreciate your coming on air today to talk about trust and the positive effect that the trust can have on someone's life with respect to the number one thing, which is their health, and then everything else, financial health, how it relates to somebody with a standard mortgage, how it relates to somebody with a reverse mortgage. And today we spent a good amount of time on the federally insured reverse mortgage, because that's Jay Kaplan's favorite loan, as he likes to refer to it, as the best loan ever. And it's been a great option for seniors, that many of them have considered selling their house and chose to get the reverse mortgage and stay in the house. And that's turned out to be a wonderful idea. And so again, going back to, you mentioned, Darren, that the big benefits that you've seen with your clients is that it's provided them a source of funds for critically important improvements to their home and some other things that they've had on their bucket list. We're going to talk about that more after the break. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be right back with Darren Baker, attorney at law, on ABC Radio. We'll be back with you momentarily.
Now back to the Educated Retirement Show with your guest host, Daryl McCance.
Welcome back. This is Daryl McCance filling in for the world famous Jay Kaplan on ABC Radio 1490 KMET. And we're joined today with Darren Baker, attorney at law. And he's brought some things to everybody's attention today that, frankly, several of the pieces were brand new to me. So I'm excited about it. And Darren, before we jump into the next piece, which I think is going to be really, really interesting for most people to hear, because you're going to discuss how they could save a huge amount of money. Please give me your contact information again. And I know we got a great sound. You just had a sound check with Sean there. So if you can give the contact information, phone number, and then we'll move on to the next piece.
Sure. My telephone number is 714-634-4237, and my office is in the city of Orange, just down the street from Anaheim Stadium.
Beautiful, beautiful. That came through crystal clear. Before the break, we were kind of transitioning back to Jay Kaplan's favorite loan, which is the federally insured reverse mortgage. And you'd mentioned a few ways at the beginning of the show how it's really positively impacted your clients in terms of quality of life and providing a source of funds for some things that could be critical, from a new roof to new plumbing, new electrical, whatever needs to be done to keep the house in high value and in good working condition. I had mentioned that there are seniors who have consider, do they sell their house? Do they stay in their house? And once they are aware of this federally insured low interest rate program, and these are small loans, these are not big loans. These are, these are very well thought out transactions. So to that regard, you had some thoughts with respect to expenses that can come up that your clients are often concerned about once you've kind of dialogued with them. You want to kind of explain on that?
Sure. The thing that people don't understand about when they sell their house is they probably understand that it's appreciated a lot, but maybe not how much it's appreciated. And they're unaware that when they sell this house, they may be paying a lot of capital gains taxes because the house has increased in value so much since they bought it. They also may want to decide, well, here, I'll put the house in my kid's name, and that way, there won't be any probate on it when we die. Well, that may be true, but number one, your kid may kick you out of the house if you have a disagreement. And two, when the kid sells it, they're going to pay a lot of taxes on it. So I tell people, stay in your home. If you need funds, get the reverse mortgage. It's federally insured. Use the equity in your house to fund your retirement to the extent that you want to do so. And then when you pass away, the kids get the property without any taxes. If they keep the property taxes stay the same as they were for their parents. So it's a good way to keep the house in the family if they want to, and save a ton of money in taxes and savings and property taxes. And you avoid the probate, of course, by doing the living trust.
Absolutely. Yeah. And everything that I have personally read on that subject, when these homes are sold, there's a tremendous amount of expense in the cost of sales and title insurance and escrow and the real estate cost and sales, not to mention, getting the property in a condition to be sold. So it can be very, very expensive to sell a property. And then, as you say, sometimes, or most of the time, frankly, the least expensive place that a senior can live is in their own home. So oftentimes the senior will sell their property and they're shocked to find out how much money was spent in the preceding 5 years, and money can disappear very quickly. So that's why a lot of times I'll speak to the children of their parents had the reverse mortgage, and they say, when you do all the math, years later, the reverse mortgage actually preserved a lot of the wealth, and the children were able to inherit more, not less, because the parents just pulled enough money out, as you say, Darren, to maintain their retirement and maintain the property. And then as time has moved forward, the property is done very well, as we've seen, Southern California over the last 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 years. The properties have done very well. So I think your addition to the tax consequence is just very valuable, and not enough people are talking about that. They're not looking down the road at how that could negatively impact their kids by trying to do something that's not really very well thought out. Any other thoughts you have on the trust work and when it should be done? When it should be, and you and I have talked about, if somebody does have a trust, when is it important for them to contact you? Because I run across people every day where their trust was done 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and they haven't touched it since the day it was created. So if you could talk to that in a minute, that would probably be very beneficial.
Sure. A growing segment of my practice is reviewing other attorneys' trusts. And when someone calls, they've been referred to me by a client, because that's the only way I really get clients is through referrals. I tell them, I'll review your trust for $150. I'll tell you everything it says. I'll tell you the problems I see, and then you can decide whether you want me to fix it or rewrite it altogether. And the thing that people don't understand is that the trusts have changed a lot in the last 10 years. Trusts used to be used in part to avoid or reduce inheritance taxes when mom and dad died. But because of the law changing over the last 8 or 9 years, we don't really need trusts to do that anymore. And so when I see a trust that has those provisions in it, the first thing we want to do is get rid of those, because those provisions can reduce the access to the assets that the surviving spouse may have. I know that sounds kind of technical, but the point is that a simple trust nowadays can do a lot more than it could 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, everybody had a tax savings trust that they don't need anymore. So I tell people, let's make this simpler, make sure and want it. It's not unusual for me to review a trust and tell them what it said, and they didn't know that that's what it said. They thought it said something else.
That's hilarious.
So, I tell people, get it looked at, and then I'll tell you before I do any more work what it's going to cost to fix it.
Yeah, and when you think about the cost of not fixing it, that can be a really miserable experience. So on average, you think people should really look at them every 3 to 5 years, or is it more event driven? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, if it's been 10 years or more since they created it, they should definitely have it looked at, because things have changed a lot. At the very least, their kids are older. Maybe they were younger when they did the trust. They had their Uncle Bob as the trustee, and now the kids could be the trustees because they're old enough. The other thing is, it is event-driven. I tell people, when your daughter gets married and changes her name, come on in and amend the trust so that it reflects her current name, because people don't understand that you can delay a lot of things because the name on the driver's license and the name in the trust does not match up. So we want to make sure the two names are the same. I also tell clients to, take a look at the trust that other lawyer did. Did he even spell your name right? I've seen trusts that had the name spelled incorrectly, and the clients never noticed, because let's face it, this is a legal document, and like pretty much every legal document is boring. So people don't really look too much into it. And that's why I'm there to explain to them, this is what it says. In fact, when I send out a draft of a trust, I send out a plain English translation so they know what all the legalese means if they care about it. So if you're not sure, have it looked at. It's not very expensive, and it can save a lot of problems.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's just unfortunately, when I see a mistake was made, it really does create a lot of problems for me and my clients, and that's and what's nice is you've been on the other end of the phone to get in there and remedy things, but short of a qualified trust attorney that really understands these issues specifically, it's painful. Okay, yeah. Now on the reverse mortgage. And is there anything specific in the trust that you've seen that's been in any way customized for the reverse mortgage, or absolutely not? It's just like any other trust in all regards.
Well, when I have a client who has a reverse mortgage, I put in provisions that the lender wants to see. And that way, because what people don't realize is, if you had a reverse mortgage done and then you got a trust, the lender's going to want to see the trust. Well, I'm going to put the language in there that lender, all lenders want to see. And that way it'll make the transition much easier for the lender than it would be without it. Otherwise, I would have to do an amendment to put in the language that they want. But since I've been doing this so long, I just put that in automatically when I have a client who's got a reverse mortgage.
Okay, so it's something that you do that just makes it easier for the client, so that the whole process is more seamless and avoids those delays. Okay, right. Great. Well, we're getting close to the end of the hour. Do me a favor, Darren, and please, the office location, the phone number, and then we'll get ready to wrap it up.
My telephone number is 714-634-4237. The lovely and talented Mrs. Baker will answer the phone unless she's otherwise occupied, in which case she will call you back if you leave a message. My office address is 1820 West Orangewood Avenue, suite number 108 in the city of Orange. And we are on Orangewood, east of the 57 freeway, about a half a mile on the south side of the street.
All right, and then also, Darren, if you would, because the sound was a little rough in the second segment, do me a favor, review with the audience the cost of creating a new trust, assuming they don't have a trust. What would be the typical, if somebody owns their home, and kind of the typical scenario? What is the charge of that? What does it cover? And I think that'll be really valuable, because it shocked me, because I've seen people pay 3, 4, 5 times that amount, and frankly, the quality of the product wasn't what you and Blanca are providing. But if you could talk just a minute to the cost, I'd appreciate it.
Certainly. Most of my clients are middle-class people. That's what my pricing is for, is to help middle-class people get this needed estate planning. And so a married couple or a single person with a home is going to pay $575 for the trust, powers of attorney for financial matters, powers of attorney and advanced health care directives, and the pour-over will, as well as instructions on how to put assets in the name of their trust and instructions on how to handle things later on. I will prepare a deed to transfer the property to the trust. All the client has to do is take it to the recorder's office and have it recorded, and that pretty much covers everything.
The total price for that, what you just described?
$575.
That's fantastic. Okay, we're just about down to the end of the show. Darren, I can't thank you enough for joining ABC Radio, KMET 1490. This has been fantastic. I've learned a lot. I'm sure the listeners have learned a ton. And we will have you back on, make no doubt about it. And then we'll have the handsome character, Jay Kaplan, will be with us. And it'll be even more fun because I'm a lot more boring than he is. So we'll look forward to that. Thanks again, Darren, for joining ABC Radio 1490 KMET, and right next to your office next to the Angels Stadium, where we have the Angels. Thanks, Darren.
Thank you.